You meet a man, he's funny, attentive, he actually listens to you. You go on a date and you get home with sore cheeks from laughing. He says all the right things, wants the same things. It feels easy and rare. Dates turn into a relationship and you think, this is exactly what you've been looking for. Now imagine discovering everything he told you was a lie, and you're only one of many women he has on the go. This is the story of Filthy John, a compulsive liar, a manipulator, a man with a serious drug problem, a habit of stealing, and a dangerous temper. On the surface, he was hilarious, affectionate, the perfect man. But behind the scenes, he was creating chaos in multiple women's lives, lying to them, mirroring their personalities, love bombing, stealing, vanishing, reappearing, and slowly wrecking their sense of reality. These women didn't just overlap, their lives became tangled in the most bizarre ways. In this podcast, you'll hear from 5 of them. 5 women brave enough to sit down and tell their story. There are more, but some of them are too scared to speak. This is a story about manipulation, survival, and the power that comes when women start comparing notes. Monica was with John on and off for 2.5 years, finally ending things for good on Christmas Day 2024, after finding proof of multiple other relationships on his phone. Like Linda and the other women, she had been through the ringer with John. Yes, there were good times and plenty of laughs, but when things were bad, they were very bad. In Monica's last episode, we heard how things took a terrifying turn one night during their friendship stints, when she asked for her car back, a car she had loaned him to go on a date with another woman. He turned up at her home late at night, where both his daughter and her daughter were asleep upstairs, and held a wrench over her head. Monica genuinely thought he was going to kill her and leave her there in a pool of blood for the girls to find the next morning. When the podcast was in the works, Monica feared what might happen once it aired. But until then, she decided to keep things civil, to play it smart, so she could gather evidence of his behaviour for when she would need it.
After my breakup with John, there was a complete silence, radio silence. I decided I didn't want him in my life, but he started emailing me. I'm guessing it was about the girls, his daughter and my daughter, for the play dates. The girls would meet up. He would just drop his daughter off to my house and then come back for her a few hours later. And then it kind of went from that to a random text message, because it was just easier to unblock him because of the communication about the girls, the play dates. And then we suddenly started making video calls. Well, he started making video calls and working on our friendship. At that stage, I had already found a good few women from his past. And I decided to play the master game, which meant that I was talking to him pretending that I was considering forgiving him, or forgetting, rather. He was just chatting to me like nothing happened, like we're best mates, flirting with me. I was recording all those conversations, then sharing them with my other sister wives, and we were having great crack. There was a time, one evening, that Linda was at my house and we were drinking, and John made a video call. And Linda was sitting on the chair beside me while I was talking to him. We were both drunk, Linda and I. He was talking about, the recent girlfriend, the pink lady, as I call her. And he would be telling me, because he didn't know that Linda was there, that he was unhappy that he made such a big mistake. She's too big for him as size-wise. Now, I'm very straightforward anyway, but when I'm drunk, there's just of no filter whatsoever. I said, listen, mate, let me stop you there. Let me just remind you, Linda is curvy. Him is curvy. I said, this lady was curvy. And if I remember well, I was the one who was always too skinny for you. You would always tell me, you exercise too much, you walk too much, you need to eat more, So do not tell me that she's too curvy for you, because this seems to be your type. And he said, oh, well, actually, it's not even that. It's just she's too small. I said, John, will you fuck off? Will you just stop making this shit up? Just, oh. And oh, but I tell you, she's no sense of humor. I said, well, if you think I'll be feeling sorry for you, that's your karma now. I asked him, so what was it that you were attracted to? Oh, she's kind. I said, well, good for you. Good for you. It sounds like a perfect relationship.
In the days before this podcast aired, Rita, the mother of John's daughter, reached out to his current girlfriend, the Pink Lady, as Monica calls her. She asked politely for a coffee and a chat, for the Pink Lady to hear everything from her perspective, and she was told, in no uncertain terms, to fuck off.
This was going on for months now. Months. I mean, him ringing me and telling me about his life, and we were having jokes. And after I finished recording this, I will send to other ladies and we'll have a great crack. And then we compared the notes because there was a stage that he was chatting to Linda, to Anya, and myself about the same things, but with a different spin depending on the conversation or the person. The same screenshots. Let's say, oh, he saw something on telly, so he sent it to me, he sent it to Linda, sent it to Anya, with slightly different commentary. Just more personalized for each one of us. That was going on for months until he sent me a photograph of a pizza box. Right, I was in the middle of the group chat with the other ladies. I took a screenshot of the pizza box and I sent it to the other group. And then they asked me about something. So I went back to his messages. I checked whatever I needed. And then I recorded a voice message. I said, ladies, does anyone recognize this glass table? Also, Linda, I think he likes the shoes that you got him for Christmas. Sent. Maybe 20 seconds later, I get a text message from John. I hope you're having fun. By the way, Linda didn't buy me those shoes. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die. I was standing with that phone. I didn't know. I was laughing. This is like a nervous laughter, pissing myself laughing for my own stupidity. I said, how I knew that this would happen at some stage, but it's just such a stupid mistake. So then I text the other girls, and obviously there was no one around, no one to help me. I rang Linda. Linda, on the way back from work, answering in her car, zero help. She found it so funny. She was just sitting in the car, just laughing out loud, no help whatsoever, zero support. So that's how John found out that I was that's when we ended our chats. My question to the girls was, has anyone recognized the glass table? Because we presumed that it was taken at someone else's house, and we were just, oh, well, we can go back to our investigation. Maybe there's another woman in the picture. So So the next thing I get, a catalog, I mean 10, maybe 12 photographs taken on the table with a glass top. Now, most of them were photographs of cocktail sausages because that's what he eats most of the time. So I've got now like a full folder of cocktail sausages on the different plates on the glass table. He was just so angry. I mean, so angry. He said, Linda didn't buy me those shoes. And in fairness, Linda looked at the photographs and he says, no, he's right. They weren't the shoes. I bought them anyway. It was, well, his dad's table because he doesn't have a fucking table, does he? He doesn't have anything. But yeah, it was his dad's table. But just the fact that he got so annoyed that he went through his phone and found every single picture of them. This was probably a couple of weeks before the podcast. Because we decided to let him know about the podcast after, I think, the last episode. Yeah, we were waiting for Anya's episode. And then we decided, okay, we were drinking, the four of us at Anya's house. And it wasn't a drunken decision. No, it helped. But we decided it was time. And also, as I said, I was getting quite emotionally tired of playing this game. Now, it was a masterful game. And one of the reasons I was staying in touch with him because this was giving us information, and I would always be two steps ahead. We were always kind of worrying, if he knows something. So if he was in touch with me almost every night, I knew that he's clueless. So we sent him the way that I played him, and he thought that he was getting my friendship back while I was just being a bitch, like a ruthless. I didn't know that I had it in me.
Although Monica had told John the Garda were keeping an eye on her, driving by the house every so often, it turned out, unbeknownst to her, that they actually weren't. Looking back at her experience with them, she feels completely let down by the Garda. If John had followed through on any of his threats, she may not be here today. It was only by the grace of God that he didn't act on them.
After we recorded the podcast, I was encouraged by other girls or other women in our group to go to the guard and let them know that things were happening or they might be happening and they might experience some threats from John. I went to the guard station. I met a young guard. For some reason, all the guards where I live anyway, they're like straight from school. He listened to my story like he was watching a Netflix episode of a true crime. I was just astonished. And a great crack. And in fairness, I was laughing with him because there are parts of the story that they are actually very funny. He put my name on the system because my request to him was, listen, I don't know if something's going to happen, but if it does, I want someone to know that if I ring in the middle of the night, this is not just a random phone call. I don't want to be waiting for the guards for 4 hours. I want them to be here within a few minutes, if possible, because it might be urgent. So that was grand. He put my name in the system. He checked his profile on their system as well, and that was grand. So I felt kind of safe because that first step was made. And then we recorded a podcast. Then, when it went out, I decided to kind of follow up with the guards. So I made a phone call to the guards in the evening, probably 9 o'clock in the evening. And again, with the encouragement of other women saying, listen, this is out now. Like, you really need to take steps because I was very aware, right? If he finds out, I will be focus of his anger, rightly so. So I said, okay. So I rang the Garda station, a local Garda station here. I spoke to a very nice guard again, took all my details. He took my address, my phone number, and he says, listen, the only thing I can do at the moment is just for you to feel safe. I'll just send the squad card kind of to run around the estate at night. So it's a grant. I was delighted with it. So next day, I went to the Garda station anyway, because he actually did suggest that. So he said, listen, it's probably better if you go and talk to them personally. I went there and I found out that there was no record of me calling the Garda station. Nowhere. I actually had to show them my phone with a call log, 7 minutes long conversation at 9 o'clock in the evening with the Garda station. They kept asking me about the name of the guard, and I said, "Listen, I just don't remember. Like, this is a stressful situation. But obviously, nowhere. There was no information in the book. There was no information in the system. My phone call did not exist, which also meant that probably they never sent the guards to drive around my estate because how could they? Things are not going to go as well as I was hoping." Sorry, that's actually after I received the first threats via text messages. So there is me at the Garda station in the little waiting room. The guards are behind the glass window, kind of, and there's me on the other side with four other people behind me. And there's a young guardie, a girl, talking to me and asking me about the details of my visit. And so I explained it kind of generally, as there are people behind me, and this is quite personal. But they wanted me to give them full details. He said, so don't you want to talk to us? I said, well, I do, but I would prefer to do it in a separate room so there are no people behind me listening to the conversation. So that took a moment, but they finally decided, okay, sure, we'll take it to the room. I told them my story. Again, Netflix. This has to go to Netflix. It's all right. I read her the messages from John. That girl didn't really know what to do with me, so then she called over another officer who was kind of higher rank. And again, there is me explaining the same story. Uh, telling him, reading him the messages, which I thought that they were quite intimidating. Uh, and he says to me, do you have anything kind of more threatening? They don't really sound that intimidating to me. I says, well, I probably have, because I actually did have. I would have to go back somewhere, but they were the most recent ones. I said, but what do you mean they don't sound intimidating? I said, he's not stupid. He's not going to send me a text message saying, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to slash your throat, I'm going to do all that. He's telling me, by the way he's speaking to me, I know he's intimidating me because I know him well. I recognize the tone of the messages. So he says, well, yes, but it's very personal. What might sound intimidating to you doesn't really sound intimidating to me. So we would need something stronger. So that was very disappointing. And I got really annoyed with him. And he says, are you happy with that? I said, no, I'm not happy with this. I said, let's just pray that when he comes to my house in the middle of the night, trying to kill me, that I will manage to get a proof that is convincing enough to you to actually do something about it. It's just ridiculous. Like, how am I supposed to feel safe if the guard thinks that I'm making shit up? I went home, found the messages. I got a phone number to that young guard, the lady guard. I sent her the messages that they were more threatening. And then the phone call started. John started calling me on private number because he's blocked everywhere. So that's the only option. And I wasn't going to answer any of those, but he kept ringing and ringing. And I was getting really, really stressed out because all of this was bringing the old trauma. Like, I do think that I suffer from slight PTSD from all this experience with him, especially the one with the wrench. So every single time, maybe not as much now, but there was a period that every single time my phone rang on a private number, I knew that was him because he's the only person who does it. Like, I would physically start shaking. I decided, oh, hold on, because I knew why he was ringing. This wasn't going to be a pleasant chit chat, and a catch up. Okay, I said, I'll answer. I just set up the screen recording on my phone, and there he was, right, left, and center, threatening, apologizing, threatening again, and telling me that he was going to come after me, come after Linda, and come after Anya. And
The following are reconstructions of parts of conversations that Monica recorded, ones that I have personally heard but can't include here for legal reasons.
Well, if you think this is a game, I don't care. I don't care about Lucas or the guards. I will find you. Do you hear me? You think I was bad St. Patrick's Day? I will find you. Do you think I'm just going to let this go?
I know you won't let it go. Hence, I went to the guards. Hence, I'm getting a safety order.
You're not going to get it in time. I am 5 minutes from your house. You have no idea how angry I am.
5 minutes from my house, John, because I'd go to the guards on call and they know that they need to be here within minutes when I call them. So don't you fucking dare come into my house.
I don't care.
If you want to have the child in your life, you should care.
If I don't get to see the child on Thursday, I guess I'll be seeing you. You should call your guard friends. Okay. See you later. You think that I care now that you sent it to my family?
Okay. Well, I didn't send it to your family, but that's all I can tell you.
Yeah. Your podcast was a mistake. I can wait for protection when it goes a year or two. I can wait. And I will go to jail. I will go to jail happily.
this is what he said. And if you think that the Paddy's Day was bad, Paddy's Day was the time that he attacked me with a wrench. So the second he said that, I knew that I just had it. This is a threat. I can't get any better than that. But anyway, I think he rang me that night 4 times, and I was recording those. and sending all those recordings to Linda, Onya, and let's call her Rita, his daughter's mom. So they were all listening while I was talking to him. All of them was a combination of him apologizing, trying to make amends, and then getting angry and threatening me again. And then he was kind of ringing me again, feeling bad and apologizing because obviously he realized, oh, this is not the approach I should be taking, so I'll apologize. Everything sent to that guard's phone number. And guess what? I have heard nothing from them. Till this day, I called the guards a few times. I was speaking to that lady. She was getting annoyed with me. I could hear it in her voice that she was getting annoyed with me for keep asking the same questions. Has anyone listened to the recordings? Has anyone seen the messages? There was a specially assigned guard to my case who was either on holidays or he was absent at work or he was on something and he never contacted. He was the one who was supposed to get in touch. Never did. So the only reason I feel safe is because we got our safety orders and protection orders. Now, fortunately, John is really a coward, so he wouldn't do it. He talks a lot, and I know from my own experience that he can get dangerous, but most of the time it's just big mouth. That's all there is. It's just, big bravado, I'm this scary man who I can hack your phones and I can hack your devices. No, he cannot. The real reason he was able to gather all the data, all the information from our phones or laptops or whatever, is because he had access to those when we were asleep. And he doesn't, because obviously he likes speed. That's what he does. He just helps himself. And he's very perceptive too. So he knew my passcode, the thing that you put with your finger to open your phone. He knew that, and I never showed it to him. But then again, I was never hiding it. We were a couple. We were friends. If not a couple, we were friends. But it was kind of just, he was always around, and with every single one of us, it was the same case because he was awake all night long while we were all asleep. Easy peasy. In my case, I don't know what, like, I'm writing a book now, and when I go through old messages, I can see it so clearly now, step by step, how this happens. But when you're in it, this is not, things don't happen overnight. It's like tiny little steps. Every day there's, he takes away more of your soul and more of your brain. And things happen so quickly. And there are so many things happening that, like, for me anyway, I don't think my brain was fast enough to follow up with this. So it was just kind of one lie today, follow up with another lie, and the other lie seemed to be more important. So then I was forgetting about the first one, and then he gave me some sort of explanation. I said, oh, okay, maybe, yeah, it sounds reasonable. Maybe it is my fault. Maybe I'm making this shit up. It's just, you're going crazy. But we all went through the same thing, and obviously some of them had worse experiences than the other. It also depended on the length of the relationship. Some ladies were with him for a few months, and most of that would have been kind of phone calls and text messaging and maybe a couple of visits. Some of them were a few years long relationships. In a relationship a couple of times, they had broken up, and then years later he came back to their lives for a short period of time. I'm guessing this was the time that, between the girlfriends, that he had someone lined up, but he wasn't ready. Like, I know in my case, he finished his relationship with Teresa. He obviously was working on me, but I wasn't ready. So he then got back with another of his women from years and years ago. He was with her for a couple of months till I was ready. And when I had spoken to her, he came to my house on the 1st of August 2022. And that was the day that he disappeared from hers. So he literally left her house, came to mine and stayed. This is his full-time job. But anyway, so unfortunately, our karma queens left the group. There are only few of us left. Some of us are in still like everyday contact. So that would be Linda, Onya, myself, and Rita. The only thing I want to say about my sister wives, as I call them, that I'm extremely grateful that I met them. And I'm so grateful that they let me to be part of their story and they trusted me with their stories. Because if you think about it, there's a strange woman who sent a random message, because that's how I found all of them. I would send a random message on Instagram or Facebook or wherever I could find them. And by find them, I was just kind of typing, I don't know, let's say Linda from Dublin. And I would go just checking, okay, who would be kind of the same age range or maybe has small kids or something. And most of them, that's how I found. Now, I was lucky because they were not from Dublin, so they're kind of local. And obviously, it's easier to find someone in a small town. So then there is me, a stranger, sends them a message, asking to talk about, and I would always say, listen, I know it's probably scary, but I want you to know that, I have a very same story and I would just like to talk. And, if you have any questions, and I was always saying, listen, I'm not in touch with him, so this is safe space. And in fairness, every single one of them answered. Now, the truth is that every single time I send that message, before I got the answer, I was shitting myself, that this might go straight to John. And I was really, really lucky that it didn't. So, yeah, I actually want to say thank you to all of them, well, I'm pretty sure they will listen, for letting me into their lives and trusting me with their stories. And I know that things didn't end the way I wanted, but listen, the story is out, and they gave me the courage. They gave me the numbers, kind of, because it's easier when you have so many stories and you see the scale of his actions. Going back to the infamous sofa situation, when I just want to say that when all the girls in our karma group found out about the fact that I will have to pay for the sofa, that it was never a gift from John, every single one of them offered to chip in and help me pay the sofa off. Now, I obviously said no, and I was really grateful. And I was sitting in my house, fucking crying my ass off, so emotional. People being so nice to me, and I still do it anyway. But just the fact that every single one of them offered, it meant so much, and I never said that before. So I just want to tell people that we had good ones here, and probably that's why he got with them, because all those women were fucking fantastic.
Monica remembers the first time she heard the name Orla. She was desperate to find this new woman who had just come into John's life, to save her from the same heartbreak and torment that she had been through herself. But it didn't go quite to plan, despite her best efforts.
We've heard about Orla from John's daughter. Well, I didn't hear it personally, but her mom had heard about Orla, that dad's got a new friend, and they met her somewhere at the car park. I don't remember where. A friend, my ass. John doesn't do friends. If he says friends, this is another girlfriend. We knew the town, and we knew the first name. John's daughter says, yeah, she's into arts, that's all. Straight on Facebook, search Orla, the town, going through dozens of profiles. I didn't realize that there are so many Orlas in that town. Such a popular name. And I finally found, we looked, I'm not sure if that was me or Linda or one of us. There was a profile of a lady with some arty pictures. Definitely the Orla. So texting, I think Linda sent something, I sent something. Then we went to Instagram, we sent more text messages, saying screenshots, all possible, and no reply at all. Now the problem is obviously if you're not friends with someone, or if someone doesn't follow you on Instagram, it's all kind of hidden requests or hidden messages until you go to the option. So we kind of gave up on these ideas. So the woman doesn't want to talk to us, obviously, or she never, maybe she's not that active on her messenger, or maybe she's not active on Instagram, whatever it is. And they all were private anyway. And then I found out from you about Orla. You contacted me that there is another lady after reaching out to you. I gave you my phone number for her, and she did contact me. Well, we were texting a completely wrong woman. So I don't know if the other Orla ever read the messages, but we were lucky that we didn't get the guys knocking on our door for online harassment of a poor lady who had message after message with strange screenshots. 3 or 4 of us, I don't remember, but we sent a good few of those messages because we were very persistent. We have to save this woman. Like, she has to know. Orla got in touch with me and we spoke on the phone for a long time. When I talked to her, I think John was out of her life for maybe 2 or 3 months then. So she was still very fresh. And this was the whole breakup for her was a shock. But then, listening to the podcast and finding out all the rest, I can only imagine. Because I was finding out things gradually, kind of, oh, there's 1 woman, there's 2 women, there's, still shocking. But then she listens to that podcast and she says, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what else? What's going on? So she just needed just to talk to someone who went through the same thing. And that day that Linda and I met her for a coffee, as she said to me, she never really spoken to someone because she was just too embarrassed. And people don't understand. And in fairness, they don't, unless you're in it, unless you went through this, and unless you had him in your life working on you for a long time, you don't get it. Because people ask questions. Oh, why did you give him money? Oh, why did you do all those things? I didn't give him money. We were in a relationship. Most of the time he was helping himself. I just didn't know. I was suspecting, but I never had the proof really till a certain point. Orla seemed to be doing really well, actually. And I'm glad that she got in touch with you and we had a chance to meet up. We're kind of text each other or send voice messages on a regular basis just to check in.
After getting her protection order, Monica was ready to go to court to apply for her safety order, and she decided to reach out to a women's organisation for support, somewhere she could get help putting together her statement and make sure that everything was done right. But like so many other things in this story, it didn't quite go to plan. Somehow, in trying to protect herself, she ended up doing more harm than good, another setback in what already felt like a long, exhausting fight to be believed.
I decided to go to see Women Rescue Center, I think it's called, in Wexford Town. So they would help me to write my statement for the court, speaking to the lady, and I was telling her that about John's threats, that he's threatening me, that he's going to contact Tusla because I leave my child unattended. And I said, no, in fairness, I do. Because I didn't think it was such a bad thing. Like, my child is very, very mature. I know she's only 10 now and she was 9 then, but she is a very, very mature girl and she's independent and she's well able. I said, yeah, well, I do leave her. Yeah. I says, oh, well, I have to report you. I said, what do you mean you have to report me? I swear, my big mouth. I says, well, yeah, because you can't do that. I have to contact Tusla and they have to investigate you now. He said, but that's not illegal because we had this all checked. Like, if you Google, it says it's not illegal. It's not advisable, but it all depends on the case. In my case, I decided that my child was safe. I had loads of safety features in the house. I'm in contact with her. She can talk to me whenever. I can check on her on the cameras. I have a neighborhood that is very safe, and all the neighbors are in a group chat, and everyone kind of keeps an eye on everyone. And the estate is very, very quiet anyway. So I explained to all of this to the lady from the Women's Rescue Center, but she says, "No, I still have to report you. That's it." I said, "All right then. Well, I've said it. My own fault." 3 hours later, I'm back home, and what do I get? I get a phone call from Tusla. 3 hours later, saying that they need to assign me a social worker, and they will investigate the case, and that I can't do it, and that it's all bad and it's just illegal. I said, and I keep saying, no, it's not illegal. This is a very easy information to check. Just Google it. It's not illegal. I know it's not advisable, but it's, in my case, she's fine. This could be a bit of Eastern European in me, because this is how we were brought up, I know there are different times, but personally, I think it's actually easier now, because there was no technology back then. You had the landline in the house, and that's it. But anyway, I spoke to the lady from Tusla, and I told her that the most disappointing thing for me about your phone call now is that Rita has been trying to get help from Tusla for months. I mean months. And this wasn't considered as an emergency situation. We're talking about a father who takes this child to multiple households, is in relationships with other women, multiple women. We know for sure that he's under influence of drugs. If not every time he has her, it's very often. He drives in the car that has no insurance or no tax or no NCT. And you're telling me that this situation is more urgent than this other woman who really needs your help. She's asking for help, and she's not getting shit from you. Poor woman from Tusla was very apologetic and very understanding, but at the same time, she says, "Well, listen, that's my job. I have to do it. I understand that you have a different point of view, but I have to do it." I was just shocked that it took her only 3 hours. This was taken like my child was in fucking danger. Like, she was just about to. I know that people were very concerned about the safety of my child. Tusla did a full investigation. It's all sorted. My daughter is safe. She's well capable. My neighbors are keeping an eye on her. I also changed jobs, so my hours changed, and she doesn't stay at home for that long, which wasn't that long, by the way, because only on an odd day, it would have been like 4 hours, which she would spend with her tablet, not even moving from the bed.
Monica knows people have judged her for some of the choices she made, and she understands why. But she wishes more people realised how easy it is to get caught up in something like that. The manipulation happens so slowly you don't even notice. Looking back, she tries to hold on to a few good memories, not to excuse him, but to make peace with what happened.
After the podcast, we're obviously going through the phase of reading comments, because it's just addictive. I wasn't really that concerned about it. I know that there were some of us who were kind of worrying that the comments might be not very positive. If I wasn't in the situation myself, I would be probably thinking they were stupid. That's the only way to describe it. Like, they had to be so stupid to let themselves to be used by this man the way he used them. And in fairness, we did a good few of those comments. Some women were nastier than the others. Why would you give anyone your money? Why would you be with this man if you know he was cheating on you? Why would you do this and why would you do that? Well, first of all, and I can speak for myself only, I was in love, okay, for the first part of this relationship. Then I was fighting for the friendship, because I was the one, the kind of is an unconditional friend, right? So I would forgive everything. I was fighting for the friendship because I thought that we had friendship. I knew that at some stage this relationship wasn't going to work, even though we tried and tried and tried. You know, when you invested in someone so much and for so long, and you see the slightest possibility of change, and you just grab onto it, and you have that hope. Okay, maybe this time. No, it was never this time, obviously, but this is how it works. And it's just, I would like people to be more open minded, because obviously, considering the fact that he did this to so many women, there's no way that we're stupid. What this means is that he is just so good at it. He has been doing this for well over a decade. And I know that because I've been in touch with women from well over 10 years ago. He's just master at what he does. I mean, master. The fact that he can talk to you and then suddenly turn into tears out of nowhere. Now, he definitely should quit a day job if he has one now, and just go into acting, because this is unbelievable and it looks so real as well. This is not something that happens overnight. There are so many new situations and your expectation, and you had this at the beginning, and this is what you're hoping to get back at some stage. It obviously never happens. But you know the truth. I don't regret any of that. Like, obviously, there were parts of this 2.5 year long relationship that were very upsetting. I lost some money. I obviously, I have some trauma. But first of all, I decided that I would remember the good times, because I had some good times. They might not be real for him, but they're real for me. I felt good from time to time, quite often, actually, at the beginning especially. I've learned so much about myself. I mean, so much. I've changed in some aspect, not for better, because dating wise, I'm looking for red flags. If someone is too nice to me, says, red flag. It's definitely a red flag. Sometimes they probably know. Sometimes the poor man is trying to be nice, but no, no. And the fact that I had a chance to meet fabulous women. I mean, every single one of them, the ones that I'm in touch with or the ones that's not anymore, every single one of them are just, it was worth it just for that. The fact that we did help some women, like look at Orla, and again, I'm pretty sure there are some other women, maybe not after being in a relationship with John, but with some other John, because I'd say there are plenty of them Johns around. I'm grateful for my 3 great friends. I tell you, I haven't partied this much since university. I am delighted. My liver is not, but I am delighted. There were bad parts, but there were good parts, and I decided to keep them. And yeah, I've no regrets. It's a lesson.
Thank you for listening to part 7 of Filthy John. This is the final episode. If you have been affected by any of the issues mentioned, please know that you're not alone. Support is available. Reach out to Women's Aid or the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre for help and guidance.